Ursula von der Leyen was born into a world that was itself just being born. Her first years unfolded in Ixelles, a leafy district of Brussels during the 1960s. This was not just any city, it was the burgeoning capital of a new European idea. The European Economic Community, the precursor to the European Union, was in its infancy. Its institutions were taking root in the very streets where Ursula, then known by her family nickname Roschen or Little Rose, played and grew. Her world was infused with the spirit of post-war reconciliation and the ambitious project of uniting a continent that had been torn apart by conflict. This environment was her first and most profound teacher, shaping her identity from the very beginning. The air in Brussels at that time was thick with optimism and the hum of international diplomacy. The city was transforming from a national capital into a continental hub, drawing in families from across the 6 founding member states. For a child like Ursula, this meant growing up in a place that was a living experiment in European integration. The conversations she overheard, the different languages she heard on the street, and the diverse backgrounds of her neighbors all contributed to a unique upbringing. She was a witness to the daily work of building Europe, not as an abstract political concept, but as a tangible reality that shaped her community and her daily life. This was a childhood defined by the promise of a shared future. This experience instilled in her a deep-seated understanding of what it meant to be European. It was not a secondary identity to be added on top of a national one. For her, it was foundational. Her father, Ernst Albrecht, was one of the pioneering civil servants working to build this new Europe. His work brought the grand project of European unity directly into their home. Ursula's early life was therefore inextricably linked to the creation of the very institutions she would one day lead. This gave her a perspective that few politicians of her generation possess, a view of the European Union from the inside out, from its very first moments of existence. Living in Brussels meant that the lines between different nationalities were naturally blurred. Her world was not one of rigid borders, but of fluid connections. The challenges and triumphs of creating a common market and fostering political cooperation were not distant news headlines. They were the daily concerns of the adults around her. This immersion in the European project provided a powerful, unspoken education. It taught her that collaboration across cultures was not just possible, but necessary. This foundational belief, nurtured in the cradle of the EU, would become a guiding principle throughout her entire life and career, setting the stage for her future role on the European stage. The von der Leyen home was a vibrant hub of intellectual and political energy. Her father, Ernst Albrecht, was a key figure in the early European civil service. He served as a Director General in the European Commission, a position of significant influence. His work was demanding and deeply involved in shaping the policies that would bind the member states together. Dinner table conversations were often filled with discussions about agricultural policy, economic treaties, and the complexities of international negotiations. For Ursula and her siblings, this was their normal. They grew up with a front-row seat to the intricate process of European statecraft, learning about the art of compromise and the importance of a shared vision from their father's experiences. Her mother, Heidi Adele Albrecht, was a powerful influence in her own right. She had a doctorate in philology and came from a family with a history of academic and business success. Although she dedicated herself to raising her large family, her intellectual curiosity and academic background filled the home with a love for language, history, and culture. She ensured that her children's education was broad and deep, encouraging them to read widely and think critically. Her presence provided a crucial balance to the political focus of her husband, grounding the family in the enduring values of education and personal development. This blend of political pragmatism from her father and academic rigor from her mother created a uniquely formative environment. Family life was central to the von der Leyen household. With 7 children, the home was always bustling and full of life. This large family unit required cooperation, patience, and a strong sense of mutual responsibility. Ursula was the 3rd child, and she learned early on about the dynamics of a large group, where individual needs had to be balanced with the good of the whole. This experience of growing up with many siblings was a practical education in social skills, negotiation, and empathy. It taught her how to navigate different personalities, resolve conflicts, and contribute to a functioning community. These were lessons that would prove invaluable in her later political career. The values instilled in the von der Leyen home were a mix of traditional German principles and a forward-looking European outlook. Hard work, discipline, and a sense of duty were paramount, reflecting her father's Protestant work ethic. At the same time, the family embraced the internationalism of their life in Brussels. They were open to different cultures and languages, seeing diversity not as a challenge but as an enrichment. This dual heritage, rooted in German tradition yet flourishing in a pan-European setting, gave Ursula a complex and nuanced identity. It prepared her to be a leader who could understand and bridge different national perspectives while remaining grounded in a core set of values. Ursula's formal education took place at the European School of Brussels I, an institution as unique as the city itself. Founded in 1953, the school was created specifically for the children of European civil servants. Its mission was to provide an education that transcended national curricula, fostering a shared European identity among its students. The school was a microcosm of the European project, a place where children from Germany, France, Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg learned side by side. From a young age, Ursula was immersed in a truly multicultural and multilingual environment, making friends and studying with peers from across the continent. This was not a typical school. It was a laboratory for the European citizen of the future. The curriculum at the European school was revolutionary for its time. Students were taught in their mother tongue, but were required to learn a second language from the very first grade. This second language, known as the working language, was not just another subject. It was used for teaching subjects like history and geography. For Ursula, this meant she was fluently speaking and thinking in both German and French from an early age. Later, English was added as a third compulsory language. This deep linguistic immersion broke down communication barriers and fostered a natural understanding of different cultural perspectives. It equipped her with the tools to connect with people from diverse backgrounds effortlessly. The school's motto, educated side by side, untroubled from infancy by divisive prejudices, acquainted with all that is great and good in the different cultures, it will be borne in upon them as they mature that they belong to the same family, perfectly captured its ethos. The goal was to create a generation that saw itself as European first. By sharing classrooms, playgrounds, and school festivals, the students learned to appreciate their commonalities rather than focus on their differences. This daily interaction with other cultures shaped Ursula's worldview profoundly, embedding in her a core belief in unity and the power of collaboration. Her school experience was a living testament to the European ideal. Ultimately, the education she received at the European school did more than just make her multilingual. It cultivated a specific mindset, one that was open, adaptable, and comfortable with complexity. She learned to see issues from multiple viewpoints and to value the richness that diversity brings. This was a stark contrast to the more nationally focused education systems prevalent in most countries at the time. When she eventually left Brussels, she carried this unique perspective with her. The European school had not just given her an education, it had forged her identity as a citizen of Europe, a foundation that would define her political journey decades later. The idyllic European childhood of Ursula von der Leyen was tragically interrupted in 1971. A profound shadow fell over the family when her younger sister, Benita Eva, died of cancer at the age of just 11. Ursula was 13 at the time, and the loss was a devastating blow that reshaped her family and her own outlook on life. The death of a sibling, especially at such a formative age, forces a confrontation with mortality and suffering that is both premature and deeply impactful. The vibrant, bustling household was suddenly filled with a quiet grief. This experience of profound loss instilled in Ursula a deep sense of empathy and a heightened awareness of the fragility of life. The family's grief coincided with a major transition. In the same year, after 13 years in Brussels, Ernst Albrecht's career took him back to Germany. He entered regional politics in Lower Saxony, and the family moved to a farm in the village of Ilten near Hanover. This was a dramatic change from the cosmopolitan urban life of Brussels. They traded the diplomatic circles of the European capital for the rural rhythms of the German countryside. For Ursula, this move meant leaving behind the only home she had ever known, her friends, and the international environment of the European school. It was a complete uprooting at a time when she was already grappling with immense personal sorrow. Adapting to life in Germany presented a new set of challenges. Ursula had to integrate into a German school system, which was culturally and structurally very different from the European school. Her accent, peppered with French inflections, made her stand out. She was seen as an outsider, the girl from Brussels who spoke German in a slightly different way. This experience of being the other in her own country of citizenship gave her a new perspective on identity and belonging. It taught her resilience and the importance of adapting to new circumstances, while also reinforcing the value of the unique international background that now set her apart from her peers. This period of grief and transition was a crucible that forged key aspects of her character. The pain of losing her sister gave her a maturity beyond her years and a deep-seated compassion for those who suffer. The move to Germany forced her to build a new life from scratch, developing independence and a strong sense of self. It was a difficult chapter, marked by loss and displacement, but it was also a period of profound personal growth. The combination of these experiences, the deep sorrow and the challenge of starting over, would contribute to the resilience and determination that would later define her public life, grounding her ambitions in a real understanding of human hardship. After completing my secondary education in Germany, I embarked on my university studies in 1977. My initial choice of subject was economics, which, honestly, seemed like a logical extension of my upbringing, steeped as it was in the economic and political project of the European community. I enrolled at the prestigious University of Göttingen, a place renowned for its academic excellence. However, this period of my life was soon overshadowed by a new threat. My father, who had become a prominent politician in Lower Saxony, was now a potential target for the left-wing militant group, the Red Army faction, which was active in Germany at the time. The risk was considered so serious that it forced a dramatic change of plans. For my own safety, I was sent to London in 1978, where I lived under the pseudonym Rose Ladson to protect my identity. This name was actually a clever combination of my family nickname Roshan and my American great-grandmother's surname. In London, I enrolled at the London School of Economics, continuing my studies in a new and vibrant city. This period of living incognito was both isolating and, well, liberating. It forced me to rely on myself in a new way, navigating a massive city far from my family. The experience deepened my independence and gave me a taste of anonymity, a stark contrast to my life as a politician's daughter in Germany. My time in London and my economic studies, however, did not fully capture my interest. I found myself drawn to a different path, one more directly connected to human well-being. Upon my return to Germany in 1979, with the immediate threat from the Red Army faction having subsided, I made a decisive change. I abandoned economics and enrolled at the Hanover Medical School to study medicine. This was a significant pivot, moving from the abstract world of economic models and political theory to the tangible, human-focused discipline of healing. This decision reflected a growing desire to engage with people on a personal level and to make a direct positive impact on their lives. The shift to medicine was not just a change of subject, it was a change in vocation. It suggested a deep-seated desire, perhaps influenced by the loss of my sister to cancer, to understand the human body and to alleviate suffering. The rigorous demands of medical school, the long hours of study, the intense examinations, and the emotional challenges of clinical training required a different kind of dedication. It was a path that demanded both intellectual prowess and profound empathy. This journey from economics to medicine revealed a core aspect of my character, a pragmatist with a humanist heart, searching for the most meaningful way to contribute to society. Ursula's years at the Hanover Medical School were intense and all-consuming. She really immersed herself in the demanding curriculum, driven by a newfound sense of purpose. The study of medicine provided her with a scientific framework for understanding the human condition, from the complexities of cellular biology to the realities of clinical practice. This was a world away from the political discourse of her childhood. Here, problems were not solved through negotiation and compromise, but through diagnosis, evidence, and treatment. This rigorous, science-based training honed her analytical skills and taught her the importance of making decisions based on facts, a discipline that would serve her well in her future career. It was during this time, in 1980, that she met her future husband, Heiko von der Leyen. He was also a medical student at the same university, and he came from a family with a long and distinguished history in the silk industry. They met in the university choir, sharing a passion for music that brought them together. Their connection was immediate and deep, built on shared academic interests and personal values. Their courtship unfolded against the backdrop of medical school, a challenging environment that fostered a strong bond between them. In Heiko, Ursula found a partner who understood the demands of her chosen profession and shared her vision for the future. They married in 1986, the same year Ursula graduated as a physician. The following year, she began her professional medical career, working as an assistant doctor at the Women's Clinic of the Hanover Medical School. Her focus was on gynecology, a field that placed her at the very heart of women's health, dealing with issues from childbirth to serious illness. This work brought her face to face with the intimate joys and sorrows of her patients. She was not just treating diseases, she was supporting women and their families through some of the most significant moments of their lives. This hands-on experience gave her a profound insight into the challenges women faced in balancing health, family, and work. In 1991, she completed her medical doctorate, further solidifying her credentials as a physician. Her doctoral dissertation was in the field of obstetrics, a testament to her deep interest in maternal and child health. This period as a practicing doctor was crucial. It was not just a job, it was a calling that shaped her understanding of society from the ground up. She learned to listen carefully, to diagnose complex problems, and to act decisively, yet with compassion. The combination of her medical training and her marriage to a fellow physician created a strong foundation for the next chapter of her life, one that would soon be filled with the demands of a rapidly growing family. Shortly after her marriage, Ursula von der Leyen embarked on another life-defining journey: motherhood. Her first child was born in 1987, and over the next 12 years, she and her husband Heiko welcomed a total of 7 children into their family. This decision to have a large family was a conscious choice, reflecting a deep-seated belief in the importance of family life. Raising 7 children while pursuing a professional career was an immense undertaking, one that required extraordinary levels of organization, energy, and resilience. The von der Leyen household became a bustling, chaotic, and loving environment, a private sphere that presented daily lessons in leadership and logistics. The sheer scale of managing a family of 9 was a masterclass in multitasking and efficiency. Ursula had to become an expert in time management, resource allocation, and conflict resolution. Every day was a complex logistical puzzle of school runs, meals, homework, and healthcare, all while she continued her own professional work and studies. This experience, far from being a distraction from her career, became a form of practical training. It taught her more about management than any business course could have. She learned to prioritize relentlessly, to delegate effectively within the family, and to remain calm and focused under pressure, skills directly transferable to the political arena. Beyond the practical challenges, raising 7 children profoundly shaped her social and political views. It gave her a first-hand understanding of the real-world pressures faced by families, especially mothers. She experienced the difficulty of balancing work and childcare, the financial strain of a large family, and the societal expectations placed on parents. These were not abstract policy issues for her. They were her lived reality. This direct experience fostered a deep empathy for the struggles of ordinary families and ignited a passion for creating policies that would better support them. Her focus on family policy in her later political career was not a strategic choice but a genuine conviction born from her own life. This period also reinforced her belief in shared responsibility. She and her husband worked as a team, with Heiko taking on significant domestic roles to support her career, a progressive arrangement for the time. This partnership was key to their success. It demonstrated her belief that strong families are built on equality and mutual support. The experience of nurturing a large family with all its joys and difficulties solidified her core values. It taught her that the well-being of a society is fundamentally linked to the well-being of its families and children. This conviction became the moral compass that would guide her entry into politics. In 1992, the von der Leyen family's life took another international turn. Heiko was offered a faculty position at Stanford University, a world-leading institution in California. The family, which by then included 4 young children, decided to embrace the opportunity and moved across the Atlantic. This 4-year period in the United States provided Ursula with a completely new cultural and social perspective. She stepped away from her medical career temporarily, dedicating herself full-time to raising her children in a new country. Living in the dynamic, forward-looking environment of Silicon Valley and the Bay Area was a transformative experience that broadened her worldview significantly. Life in California was a stark contrast to the more traditional and structured society of Germany. Ursula was struck by the American emphasis on individualism, optimism, and a can-do attitude. She observed a different approach to community life, with a strong culture of volunteerism and local engagement. The American perspective on work-life balance and childcare also offered new insights. While she saw challenges, she also saw a society that was, in some ways, more flexible and open to different family models. This experience allowed her to look back at Germany and Europe with fresh eyes, seeing both the strengths and weaknesses of her home continent more clearly. This American interlude was not a complete break from her intellectual pursuits. While her primary focus was her family, she audited classes at Stanford, keeping her mind engaged and absorbing the academic culture of a top American university. The environment was buzzing with innovation, new ideas, and a global outlook. This exposure to American academia and the entrepreneurial spirit of the region further expanded her intellectual horizons. It gave her insights into different economic models and societal approaches to innovation, technology, and education, which would later inform her policy thinking. She was a mother and a homemaker, but she was also a keen observer and a lifelong student. When the family returned to Germany in 1996, Ursula brought back more than just memories. She returned with a renewed sense of purpose and a set of new ideas about how society could better support families and encourage individual potential. Her time in the United States had reinforced her belief in the importance of a flexible and supportive infrastructure for working parents. It also gave her a more nuanced understanding of globalization and the different ways societies can organize themselves. This international experience, layered on top of her European upbringing, gave her a uniquely global perspective, preparing her for a political career that would require navigating a complex and interconnected world. Upon her return to Germany, Ursula von der Leyen resumed her work at the Hanover Medical School, contributing to research in epidemiology and public health. However, her life experiences, from her Brussels childhood to raising a large family and living abroad, had cultivated a growing desire to effect change on a broader scale. She had seen firsthand the gaps in social policy and felt a calling to address them. In the late 1990s, she made the pivotal decision to enter politics. She joined the Christian Democratic Union, the same party as her father, bringing with her a unique profile: a medical doctor, a mother of 7, and a woman with deep international experience. Her entry into politics was remarkably swift. She started at the local level in Lower Saxony in 2001, and her competence, fresh perspective, and compelling personal story quickly gained attention. In 2003, she was elected to the state parliament and was immediately appointed as the state minister for social affairs, women, family, and health. Her portfolio was a direct reflection of her life's work and passions. She was no longer just treating individual patients, she was now responsible for the health and well-being of an entire region. She approached the role with the same evidence-based rigor she had learned in medicine, combined with the deep empathy she had gained as a mother. In her new role, Ursula championed policies that were considered modern and progressive for her Conservative Party. She advocated for expanding public childcare, introducing paid parental leave for fathers, and providing greater support for working mothers. Her arguments were not based on abstract ideology, but on her concrete experiences. She understood that a modern economy needed the full participation of women, and this was only possible if the state provided a supportive infrastructure for families. She framed family policy not as a private matter, but as a crucial economic and social investment for the future of the country. Her unique background gave her the credibility to push for these changes. This early phase of her political career demonstrated how her entire life had been a preparation for public service. Her European upbringing gave her a belief in collaboration. The loss of her sister instilled compassion. Her medical training taught her to be analytical and decisive. Raising 7 children made her an expert on family needs and a master of management. Her time in the United States gave her new ideas and a broader perspective. All these threads came together, weaving the fabric of a new kind of politician, one whose policies were deeply rooted in lived experience. Her journey from a doctor's office in Hanover to a ministry in the state government was the logical culmination of a life dedicated to human well-being.